Kate and Charlie Gibson, hosts of the podcast The Bookcase. This week they are exploring why audiobooks are more popular than ever. We're going to talk to them in just a moment. First, take a look at this.
You don't have to hear it to believe it. The business of audiobooks is booming.
The estimated $5.4 billion industry is growing year over year and is expected to reach $35 billion by the end of the decade, as readers swap their hardcovers for headphones and listen on the go.
You can read no matter what you're doing.
Carissa Vacker is the narrator of over 300 audiobooks, from bestsellers like A Flicker in the Dark.
I was 12 when the girls started to go missing. Girls not much older than me.
To GMA Book Club pick Olympus, Texas.
My past doesn't have to be my future.
We went behind the scenes at Macmillan Audio as she recorded her latest narration, Night Will Find You, by Julia Heberlin.
Vivian Rose Boucher. Pretty name for a psychic.
Sometimes she works with the help of a director.
Would you mind going back to Red Roses? There's a little stumble there.
It's such an intimate medium because you are literally in somebody's ear. You're really telling the story in a way that is immersive for them. And you're playing all the characters. I can be a 5-year-old girl or an elderly man, all within one book.
And according to Amazon, audiobooks were the most popular reading format for 50% of the books that hit #1 on their charts.
We've spoken with authors like Harlan Coben on our podcast. He says audiobooks are just one more way to get people reading.
He says they make up a sizable proportion of the initial sales from his latest novel, I Will Find You.
All right, Harlan Coben, the age-old debate, does listening to an audiobook from start to finish count as reading the book? Why or why not?
Yes, definitely. It may be a slightly different experience, and as a storyteller or as a writer, I don't care if you read me on stone tablets, you hear it from a high, you play it in audio. I'm definitely on the side that this counts as reading.
The voice behind some of his audiobooks is one you might recognize.
We're rich because we have each other.
Actor Steven Weber of Wings fame.
To what extent are you reading, Stephen, and to what extent are you acting?
I usually cold read, which is either a comment on how lazy I am or how adept I am, and it propels you into the moment, and I'm reading it and acting it and feeling it at the same time. So it's a combination.
How, you wonder, can I possibly be innocent? I just am.
Oftentimes when Stephen is reading some of the dialogue, I'm like, okay, that's not how I heard it. It's actually better, which is the really magic moments of audio.
The cool thing about a lot of the characters that he writes is that they're so accessible. And I have to say, I keep landing on Hester, the character of Hester, who's this fantastic, older, kind of like alpha Jewish woman lawyer, and that character, those traits are in my family. I'm doing any number of aunts and grandparents and that I've had that I grew up with. And so it just kind of flows out of me naturally.
Stephen, are you surprised by how fast this business is growing of audiobooks?
I'm not surprised because it's holding pace with technology, and that's ever evolving and really rapidly evolving.
That looked like a lot of fun.
It was.
Yeah, that seemed great. So some of your favorites are up there?
Yes, those are some of the most recent ones that we have listened to, and I think the two at the bottom are books that we named that we would narrate if given half a chance.
Yeah, and I just listened to that book, Embers of War by Fred Logvold. Great book about the origins.
But you
of
listen at double speed.
Depending on the book. Like we were just talking about this, Charlie and I are book nerds.
Yes.
I don't listen to fiction. I only read fiction like
But
the old-fashioned way.
Listen at double speed.
Here we go.
You've only had half the book.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's revving up. I disagree, and it's funny because watching that piece when they were playing it back at regular speed, I'm like, that's really slow. Once you go to 1.5, you will not go back. And I listen to audiobooks doing everything: folding laundry, making dinner, everything I don't want to do. An audiobook makes it better.
And you're fiction, nonfiction, both?
I am both. I will do either.
I only listen to fiction. In nonfiction, I want the book in my hand, but you're exactly the opposite.
Exactly the opposite. I do a lot of the listening for when I'm like doing research, and it depends on how well I know the subject. If I know it really well, I'll read it,
Nerds.
2.5. If I don't know it so well, I'll slow. Like I didn't know a lot about that book, so I slowed that one down to 1.5.
Don't you fall asleep when you're listening?
I'm always walking.
Oh, you're walking. Oh. When I'm listening, I fall asleep, and then and then I don't remember when it stopped. And so
But that's part of your problem. Don't do it when you're sedentary. You've got to do it when you're folding the laundry and making the dinner and doing other stuff.
You can do other stuff.
Yeah.
Also, Charlie, you remember this job. If I pick up a real book at any time after 7:30,
then
it's
you fall
3
asleep.
pages.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's the most I'm going to get.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for coming in. The latest episode of The Bookcase with Kate and Charlie Gibson.
George,
streaming
if you were hired to read a book, what book would you read?
I have to say it's going to have to be my own. I'm working on it.
Shameless.
You set me up. What can I do?
Oh, that hurt.
George Stephanopoulos' book can be found at better bookstores everywhere. Coming
next
out
year. Next year. But you can listen to Charlie and Kate. It's streaming everywhere now. Use the QR code on the bottom of your screen. You can also download it for free wherever you listen to podcasts.
This week's podcast is Rebecca Roberts, Coky's daughter.
Oh, fantastic.
Who wrote a biography of Edith Wilson.
I read about that. Great.
It's fun.
Yep.
You guys can all tune in.